Well, hello, everybody. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, whatever in the world you are connecting from today. Thank you so much once again for being part of our Hacking HR live chat series. We created these conversations and we launched them at the beginning of the year to invite so many talented, brilliant authors who have spent a long time in their lives researching and writing and sharing insights and great recommendations with all of us in the global community and in this case in our Hacking HR community. I am hoping that all of the conversations that you have tuned in, if you have tuned into more than one, and I'm hoping that that's the case, have been very, very valuable to you. And if you have missed any of the previous conversations we've had, please go to our website, hackinghr.io, click on live chats, and you will find all of these amazing conversations that we've had in the past, recorded and posted in there. And as I always say, I am really hoping that you are finding value in these conversations, but if for the very selfish reason of it, which is not the reason why I'm doing it, but for the very selfish reason of it, I the one person that is finding growth and development out of this is me. That's good enough already, because it's been truly an amazing journey, learning from all these wonderful speakers, wonderful authors, and growing. I've taken so many notes out of all these conversations. And by the way, if you see all of the other events that we're doing in Hacking HR, a lot of those conversations have been informed by the insights that we are talking about here in this Hacking HR live chat series. So it can serve the same purpose for you, by the way, if you're doing some work in your with your job, your role in your workplace. I am sure that you will find some ideas here in these conversations to inform and make that work better. So once again, everybody, thank you so much for being part of this conversation. For those of you who are connected live right now, please let us know where in the world you are connecting from. Just post it in the chat. It would be awesome to know where everybody is. If you have any questions, comments, resources, anything that you want to share with all of us in the community related to this topic, please post it in the chat. It will be awesome to read you all. I myself, I live in a very beautiful place. I live in Flagstaff, in the northern part of the state of Arizona. And right now, I am very fortunate to be connecting from the state of Colorado, in the heart of the San Juan Mountains, in near Durango. So, for those of you who are in Colorado, you are very lucky, very beautiful state. So, everybody, we are going to be talking now. This live chat is Dare to Discover Your Purpose, Retire, Refire, and Rewire. And I am super excited to welcome George to the screen. Good morning. Well, good afternoon to you, George. How are you?
I'm great, Enrique. Thank you for having me on your show.
Well, thank you so much for joining. I am super excited about this conversation. I am ready to, to discover, more of my own purpose, and even think, whether I'm on the right track for what I think I should be doing. But we're gonna get there. And before that, I would love for you to please introduce yourself to our audience. If you can let us know where you're connecting from, the work you've done, and why you wrote this book about purpose. So please go ahead, George.
Okay, thanks, Enrique. Well, first of all, I'm George Jerjian. I'm based in London, England, and I've had several sort of challenges in my life that have brought me to where I am here today. And I'm very grateful for the crises, because each crisis has been an opportunity. That said, I just need to point out, when you're in the crisis, it's not much fun. But when you sort of see it with a different lens, it's really a blessing in disguise.
Yeah.
So I essentially two things. In 2007, I was diagnosed with a bone tumor and given 6 months to live. That's a huge wake-up call. And for me, what was really very powerful was the oncologist said to me that in 98% of cases, bone tumors are secondary cancer, which means it's spread throughout your body. There's very little medicine can do for me. So after 3 weeks of having that sword of Damocles above my head, which made me really think about what's important in my life and what's not, And you only realize that when you're kind of on death's door. But after 3 weeks, I was told that I belong to the 2% club.
Wow. Wow.
That's like a death sentence commuted to 6 months in prison. That's what it's like. I can only imagine that. But and the thing was that uh, the bone tumor was the size of a large aubergine, an eggplant, sitting on my pelvis, and it had to be removed.
Wow.
And I had to learn to walk again. So there were a lot of challenges, but really, when I look back on it, it was a huge blessing. And that changed the course of my life. I started looking at my life in a whole different way. And I wrote the book, Dare to Discover Your Purpose, because it was my own journey of change and transformation. And I studied a lot of other people, historically and present day, how they made that transformation. And I created a process called the Dare Method, because I wanted to help people make that transition in a fraction of the time that I did it in.
Hmm. George, thank you for sharing your story and the vulnerability to do so with our audience, and I appreciate it. Let me ask you this: why this path, though? Of writing about purpose after you were going through, your medical procedures and your own health, uh, procedures in years ago. Why would you choose to write about purpose and not about, I don't know, AI to cure cancer, or something along those lines?
Yeah, that's a really good question. Why did I do that? I think what happened was because after I was diagnosed with this, I had to stop in my tracks and say, what am I doing with my life?
Mm.
What's my life about? What's my purpose here? Before I could even ask those questions, I decided to retire.
Huh.
I was 52 years old, and I thought retirement would be perfect. Now that time is the most next to the most important thing next to money, you realize time is precious. What can I do with it? And so I retired. But after 12 months of the honeymoon period of retirement, I was bored. I was restless. I felt my life was my energy was sapping away.
Hmm.
And so it was very difficult to unretire and start doing something new. But it took me on a new journey of growing and learning. And I realized that retirement actually is a trap.
Hmm.
And those who go into retirement, very few come out. Now, recently, after COVID, we've been hearing things like people are unretiring and going back to
Yeah.
work. Well, that's because they need the money.
Yeah.
The money is the driving force, not the real reason, which should be, what's the purpose of my life?
Yeah.
And it's the
Yeah.
kind of question you ask yourself if you're on your deathbed and you're given 6 months to live. What is it that you want to do? What's so important for you to do? So coming back to your question, Enrique, why this? Because I found that this was the challenge for me. This was what I found challenging is, what is my purpose? And purpose isn't written in stone. You have to excavate it out of yourself, because the answer is inside you, not outside. And we're always looking for answers on the outside.
Yeah.
So I wanted to give a direction for people, to help people move through this difficult transition, because it took me a long time to get through it. And I wanted to help people save time, because time is of the essence.
And we are going to get to the question of the definition of purpose and how to find it. Um, but I was reflecting about what you just said. You not knowing that you were not part of the 98%, but that you were actually part of the 2%. So in your mind, or initially, as you were diagnosed with cancer, you thought, I am, is there anything more to life? You probably were thinking, I am in my deathbed, and is there anything more to life? And that's such a powerful question, and I wonder if there's a way for us to actually ask ourselves that question without us having to go through a crisis, without us having to be confronted by, is this it, right? Is this the end of it? And any thoughts on that, George? Can we ask ourselves that question? Can we even carve out the time to even think about the answer to that question when, we're so busy, and it's only seemingly when we are in crisis that we think, oh, I have to rethink my life. I have to rethink about what matters, what's important. And by the way, um, we all went through some level of collective crisis at the beginning of the pandemic,
Yep.
when a lot of people were asking themselves, is it just work? Is it just work? What matters, right? Any
Right.
thoughts on that?
No, absolutely. I mean, you've packed a lot of questions in there.
Yeah, I know. Yeah.
You've packed a lot of questions. So let me unpack it as best I can. Thanks, Enrique. Well, here's the thing. When you are super busy, that's when you stop thinking.
Mm,
That's when you're on automatic pilot, right? And we're all guilty of this, because
yeah.
that's the kind of society that's been built around us. And we are, if you like, cogs in the machine. And we're all trying to run faster than the nearest competitor. And that is that's because we're not thinking.
Yeah.
That's what I put it down to. We're not thinking. Um, and so the pandemic was a great exercise in for those who were able to seize the opportunity and recognize that a lot of their behavior patterns changed during the pandemic. Now, we know from neuroscience that it takes between 2 and 9 months to change behavior, right? And the pandemic was a lot longer than 9 months. So a lot of people's behaviors changed. A lot of people started learning how to walk in nature. A lot of people started doing things that gave them joy. And
Mm,
it's very difficult to go back to the office 7 days a week, working
yeah.
like a dog without thinking. That's changed. And we know from statistics, very recent statistics, that people want meaning in their lives,
Yeah.
want to do something that gives them joy, and they're prepared to work at something that pays them less, even
Yeah.
if it gives them that joy, right? And so the questions I would ask myself if I was part of the audience here today would be the following kind of, let me throw some 3 questions out for you. And before I answer the questions, I would say this to you. Most of us react to crises, and crises happen for us, not to us. They happen
Yeah.
for us to change. But if you're smart, if you're alert and aware, you would ask yourself the question as follows. My life is not guaranteed, in terms of many of us might not make it to the end of this evening,
Yeah.
right? That there's no guarantee, right? But we live and work as though we've still got another 40 years to go.
Hmm.
The reality is that there's no guarantee that any of us can make it to the end of today. Knowing that, what would you change about your life?
Yeah.
Right? Because you only get one. This isn't the dress rehearsal. This is the real thing. The second thing is, I would ask you to ask yourself, and I think this is a real powerful one, because when you ask people, what's your purpose? Most people go, what? I don't know what you're talking about.
Yeah.
Um, and the question I would ask is, what activity do you lose all sense of time in? What activity do you lose all sense of time in? Because when you lose all sense of time, it means you are having fun. You are enjoying what you're doing. And when you're enjoying what you're doing, it doesn't matter what you do, people will pay you for it.
Yeah.
Right? Because
Yeah.
nobody likes a glum person, a miserable person, however efficient they might be.
Yeah.
All right? People like joyful people.
Yeah.
So that's the second thing. The third thing is, and this is the real cruncher, is what are you afraid of?
Hmm.
Because whatever you're afraid of, just beyond that is what you desire.
Hmm.
And we know this from American mythologist Joseph Campbell, who said, "The cave you fear to enter holds the treasure you seek."
Hmm.
The cave you fear to enter holds the treasure you seek. So, what cave are you afraid to go in?
Wow. George, let me ask you this. I thank you for those three questions. And I don't know if you remember, but at the beginning, at the my my opening lines for this conversation, I said, well, if not for the sake of our audience, selfishly for my own sake, I am, this is a growing opportunity. And your three questions, I don't have much time to think about them right now. In the context of my own life, but I am thinking about them, and I don't want to get too distracted from our conversation,
Right, of course.
thinking about the answers to those questions for my own life. But they do hold, a special place in me, even if I had asked them in a different way before. But the one thing that I want to ask you is this: uh, isn't there a paradox when we think about our purpose, which seemingly is something that will take a long time to be realized in the world, versus the idea of, I don't even know if I'm going to make it after tonight, right? And by the way, I know, and actually, everybody can see it in the reviews from your book, and I'm hoping that they go and check out your book. That your questions are powerful questions, are questions that people sometimes are afraid to ask themselves, and they avoid even when they ask themselves some questions, because they are confronted by whatever in life, right? By the death of a loved one, for example. People are afraid of asking themselves these questions. But that's one thing that I want to ask you is, like, isn't there a paradox when we think about what our own purpose is versus whether I am going to make it out, or I'm going to be alive tomorrow morning?
I'm not sure I understood the question, Enrique. Can you
You know,
rephrase it?
sure, yeah. You think about your purpose, right? And you think,
Right.
this is my purpose in life, and that's not going to be realized tomorrow. That's not going to be realized probably the day after tomorrow. Maybe I'm putting down the building
Oh,
blocks to get there. But why am I even going to bother doing that? Why am I even going to invest on or spend any time doing that if I don't know if I'm going to be alive tomorrow morning?
okay. Let me, that's a perfectly good question, but I would challenge that for
Yeah.
two reasons. One, um, already somebody asking that question is an unhappy person,
Mm,
right? Now, why forget the purpose? Because when we talk about purpose, people start thinking about a big thing, right?
yeah.
Conquering the world, or finding a cure for cancer. We're not talking about that kind of purpose.
Mm,
I'm talking about the kind of purpose that makes you jump out of bed in the morning.
mm,
So forget about the long-term planning. I'm talking about your daily activity. You jump out of bed because you love what you do. That's your purpose.
mm,
That's it. So you have a choice. Do you want to continue working at something that's just paying you money, but you're not joyful? There's no joy, there's no meaning to your life. Or do you want to get paid maybe a lot less, but you enjoy what you're doing? It's giving you purpose. It makes you happy. It makes everybody around you happy.
mm.
Which one do you want?
Oh, if you're asking me, I'm going to choose the second one, the one that gives me joy, and regardless of external conditions, that's the one that I'm always going to choose. I
Exactly.
myself will choose that. Yeah.
Exactly. And you kind of said it right in your intro. You are doing it for your own reasons. Forget about serving anybody else.
Yeah.
Well, hey, guess what? If you don't love yourself, you cannot love anybody else.
Yeah. Hmm.
So love your neighbor as yourself, right?
Yeah.
You can't love your neighbor if you don't love yourself. That's the equation.
Yeah. And loving yourself requires having that energy that gets you out of bed in the morning thinking, man, I'm going to do something real cool today, real awesome, and something that truly excites me. You know what? And I want to ask you this, and the sad part of realizing the power of such questions and the power that something can get you out of bed in the morning energized. The sad part of that is that so many people don't have that. The
No,
sad
they
part of it
don't.
is that so many people don't find that. I don't know if they ever do, but you see it, for example, in the data showing how disengaged people are from work. How many people actually? This is interesting, right? Because you have all these headlines saying, "Oh, people don't want to work anymore," which is like BS. Because
Yeah,
you ask the same people, you ask people, "What do you want to do?" And they say, "I want to be an entrepreneur." And why? When they ask them why they want to be an entrepreneur, is the answer is never because they will work less. The answer is always because they want more flexibility, they want more autonomy, they want to do their own things, even if all of those things mean working more. And once again, to me, the realization that there's something that can get you out of bed with that energy, but not having it. How do you answer to that? How do you go about that?
okay. I've been there, so I understand. A lot of people work because they work in industry or in businesses or in jobs that they feel this is what I have to do,
Yeah,
right? This is my father, my grandfather, whoever did that before me. This is my path. This is, I have to put food on the table.
yeah,
There are 1,000 reasons why you would betray yourself. Trust me, I know. I've been there, right? And it's at the age of 62, I decide suddenly to change course. Why? Because
hmm,
suddenly I have a rendezvous with death.
yeah,
I wake up, I realize, you know what? If I die, all the businesses that I've been involved with will continue perfectly well without me.
yeah,
I am not indispensable. That's the first thing. And it's also about control, right? Where I've worked for the last 30 years to get to this position. Why am I going to throw it in now?
yeah,
Well, my question to you is, if you died tonight, what control do you have over that job?
yeah,
All right. You only have one life. It's not a dress rehearsal. What are you doing with your life?
yeah,
You owe it to yourself to be happy. But we don't think that. We think it's all about the money. It's all about work. It's all about obligations. It's all
yeah,
about duty. And that's been inculcated into us from childhood. And one of my mentors, Bob Proctor, the mindset mentor,
mhm,
who died, I think it was earlier. Was it earlier this year? I think it was earlier this year or last year. I can't remember. But anyway, he used to say that only 3% of people in this world think. 7% think that they think. And 90% would rather die than think.
wow,
Now, it's very funny. 90% would rather die than think, but you know that from people who have a closed mind and they stick to it um, like it's an article of faith,
yeah,
because that's how they believe in it. And I think the reason they believe so hard is because they don't actually believe it. They
hmm.
force themselves to believe it because it gives them a sense of security.
And it's hard to let go, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. It's
Because
hard.
we are imbued with insecurity and
Yeah,
fear.
it's hard to let go, and it's hard to. I don't know if this was hard for you, but you were going through a unique set of circumstances. But it's hard to be in a place where maybe you say, "Today I'm not going to do anything other than think," and at the end of the day, think or realize I'm doing the wrong thing. I am. This is not what I should be doing. I am. I I don't know if people listening to this right now are thinking about this, right? But some people realize one day I am miserable in my job. I am not doing what I want to do. I am making it for the wrong reasons, and I am whatever age. And it's not just the letting go; it's perhaps realizing that maybe there was something there's something wrong, and now you have to change course. And that realization can be either scary or difficult, or will eventually prove you wrong, and may prove the people around you that were telling you, like, hey, George, this is not for you, man. Like, like, you are so awesome for this thing and you're doing this other thing. And you're like, no, 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 this is the thing that I should be doing. And then in your mind, you are like, wow, those people were right. And now I have to tell them you were right and I was wrong. I think that's so hard. That's so
It
hard.
is. It is. It's actually all those things put together, Enrique. And I would sort of take a step back and say, I think people don't know where to look for the answer, and that's why I created this book, because the word dare is another word for courage.
Mm-hmm.
And courage comes from the Latin cor, meaning heart. Corazón. It's heart, right? And what we don't realize is that courage is not an intellectual thing. It's from the heart. And we never go to the heart to look for solutions. We're looking for solutions here in the mind, in the intellectual mind. And the intellectual mind does not have the capacity to use courage. And courage is what is needed, particularly for my cohort, the people I serve, which are the retirees. Because when you come to retirement, the money plug stops, it's switched off. And you cut all the unnecessary expenses. You don't want to do anything out of the things. You want to keep your money tight. And your sandbox gets smaller and smaller and smaller, as does your mind, as does your imagination. And then it's all south. Everything starts to go south. Loss of self-confidence, loss of identity, loss of self-esteem. And then there's shame because you're not useful anymore. You're retired. You're an old person. And you're just discarded on the heap of, and you have, as an individual, participated in this equation for yourself instead of fighting it and saying, no, I want to repurpose myself. I have another 25, 30 years to go. But to come back to courage, courage is what you need to make this transformation. In a similar way that the caterpillar goes into the cocoon before it becomes a butterfly, the caterpillar goes into that cocoon and it becomes caterpillar soup. All right. And what I'm saying is effectively who we are in our work when we retire and we go into the cocoon, our ego goes through a death. Who we are dies. Who we are to become hasn't come out yet. So we're in this liminal space, uncomfortable space of not knowing. Much like in the old days when ships used to sail out of harbor, the safety of the harbor, and cross the ocean. There's no sight of land now. The land they left is gone. The new land hasn't appeared. They're in the middle of the sea. They are at the mercy of the weather, mercy of the sea. And it's a very uncomfortable place. And so you need courage to go through this. And I speak about this to people who are about to retire, but this is equally valuable to people who are in midlife and transitioning careers even. It's a risk you're taking. But not taking risks in life is the biggest risk.
Yeah. You know what I'm thinking, and I would love for you to maybe share your thoughts as well, George, is that if courage, and I fully agree with you, since courage, not if, since courage comes from the heart and not from the mind, which is telling you that that's too risky, that's, it doesn't make sense, don't go that way. And then you emotionally, you are like, yeah, I want to make it happen. Is there a way in which this is also outcome agnostic? And what I mean by that is you are daring to do something, but you don't know what's going to happen at the end. You're getting into the cocoon, but you don't know if you're going to turn out to be a butterfly at the end of the journey. So that courage seems to me to require some level of, I don't know if the word is flexibility or open-mindedness, or just simply be okay with whatever happens at the end of the journey. Once again, being outcome agnostic, because you don't know for sure at the beginning of the journey what's going to happen at the end of it. Any thoughts on
Absolutely.
that?
No, this is, I mean, I love the word you say, outcome agnostic. That's exactly what you need to be.
Mm.
But we have been trained. Just let me give you an example. Um, the insurance industry wants to help us cover any risks, untoward risks in our lives. That has helped to kind of chip away at any courage that we have left.
Yeah.
Think about it.
Yeah.
You know, I'm not talking about your mandatory car insurance, right? Because you can hurt other people. I'm talking about insurance on identity theft, insurance against a meteor falling on your house. There's insurances that you kind of wonder what's going on here. It's all about pressing fear buttons the whole time,
Mm.
right? Go back 100 years ago, there was no insurance on any of this stuff. And people had more courage. Is that because they had more courage then? Well, they did, but it's not because they were any different to us. They didn't have all these fear injections, buttons being pressed on us. So, in a sense, coming back to your question, Enrique, you do have to be you do have to take risks. You do have to have faith.
Yeah.
I didn't say it's easy.
Yeah.
Not easy. But I promise you one thing. Taking this road, the upside is huge. The challenge is there. You're going to go through bad days. You're going to wish you hadn't resigned from your job. You're going to wish you'd stayed where you were. But believe me, each day as you move forward with courage and faith, you will get to a destination that you hadn't even possibly imagined.
Yeah.
The outcome, okay, is not the thing here. One of the things, the problems we have is, again, because of our educational system, is we have to have a point in the future that we want to reach. And then we
Mm.
make this sort of we make the plans and we do the budgeting and we do all that stuff that's going to get us there. Well, we've undershot just by even pointing out that position.
Yeah.
Let me give you a suggestion here. And it's something which I really love quoting. It's Henry Ford, the founder of Ford Motor Company. He said, if I had asked people what they wanted, they would have said faster horses.
Yeah.
All right. So what I'm asking you to do is forget about the linear thinking that we do. There's quantum thinking, right? You can't see it, but you know it's there because you've got it in your imagination. Whatever issue or problem you're trying to solve in your life or in your work, right? You have the imagination to create it. And believe me, we have enough problems here to have full employment on the planet.
Yeah.
You know, you would think that, right? We have
Yeah.
enough problems, don't we?
Yeah. There's
I
enough
mean,
business to be done.
and I'm not even talking about the potholes in the roads.
Yeah.
So if you've got the imagination to find a solution for something, right? Have faith in it, create something. It doesn't matter what it is.
Yeah.
But don't sell yourself short.
Yeah. One of my thank you, George. And one of the words that I use to approach every partnership conversation, every sponsorship for our community, every author that I invite to our conversations, everything, and that I do is possibilities. I don't know why, but I love that word so much because what it creates, at least in my mind, is first of all, it tells me I don't know what the outcome is going to be, but I have to be open minded that there could be many outcomes and all of them could be awesome. But maybe none of them work and that or works. And that's also a possibility, right? And I have to be, open to the idea that I'm investing time in something, that I am putting energy into something, and it doesn't lead to anywhere, and that is okay too. And that's another possibility. So I always think about, purpose, um, and what keeps me going. What gets me out of bed in the context of the whole world of possibilities that can be unleashed by what I'm doing today. And so I try to be as as much as possible, it's not always possible, but as much as possible, I try to be outcome agnostic. Yes, I know there are some things that I want to do. I want my family to be, safe and stable and healthy in the long run. I want that for myself. Um, but the how to get there, again, it's a whole world of possibilities for me. And I love that. I love that word possibility, and that's what is coming to my mind as you develop on the concept of purpose. Yeah, go ahead, please.
If I could just use what you just said about possibilities,
Yeah,
that's what I create with my DARE method.
yeah,
DARE isn't just about courage, it's an acronym for discover, assimilate, rewire, expand. And the D for discover is about discover what retirement is and what it's not. Because if you ask people what it is, everyone will give you a different answer.
yeah.
And it's just in their heads. It's nothing to do with reality. The A in DARE, the letter A, is for assimilate, and it's about assimilating new information about our mind, particularly our subconscious mind. And nobody ever teaches us about the subconscious mind.
Yeah.
And so I help to teach people about the subconscious mind and how it works. And it works very differently to our conscious mind. And so that's the important bit. And then, of course, the R is for rewiring. So once you understand the conscious and subconscious minds and how they work and interact, then you learn how to rewire. And the rewiring involves, for example, that inner dialogue that we have. I'm useless. I can't learn anything new. All that negative chatter in your head, that has an impact on you. That actually triggers chemical reactions in your body.
Mm-hmm.
So all we have to do is record over that, record the opposite of that you want to happen. And then E, the letter E of DARE, is about expand. And by expand, I'm talking about moving from linear thinking to quantum thinking, right? Quantum thinking is, to use another word that you used, Enrique, possibilities, right? Now, we're living our life and we think this is the only life we have. We don't realize that there are, just like in a circle, you have 360 degrees. I'm going to just shoot out there. You have the possibility of living 360 different lives in the present time that you have, right? You can move country, you can move your family, you can change your family, you change your job, you can change anything. Now, the choices are yours to make. Some choices for you are not negotiable. That's fine. But what about all the other choices? All those other choices are available to you if only you have an open mind. And I give an example that, you look at a mountain and all you see is the mountain in front of you and it's blocking wherever you want to go. If you move 2 miles to the right, you might see that there's actually a village on the side of the mountain where there's food and water. Different perspective.
Yeah.
So imagine if you apply that perspective to your life. How can you change your life, right? The answer lies within you. I'm just a facilitator. And the answer does not lie outside you. Don't look for a guru out there who's going to tell you how to live your life. You know what you like. You know what you love to do. You just have to get it out because it's been silenced out of fear.
And it's silenced out of fear, while simultaneously is killing you. Is killing you, because not getting that energy out from you outside, literally, it's making you think every day in the morning, what if I did this, and you never do it. So that's a hard thing to manage. So, George, thank you so much. I think we're going to need a second part of this conversation dedicated to the framework, which, by the way, should have been the topic of this entire conversation. And we said we're gonna let it go. We're gonna let it be organic, and we ended up talking about so many things related to purpose. So I'm hoping that I can have you back again in our live chat series to talk specifically about the Dare framework and continue, inspiring people in our community to to live that full life, right, that you are talking about. So, George, once again, thank you so much for being here with me today and with our community and sharing all of this inspiration and all of this energy with all of us. So thank you so much.
Thank you, Enrique. It's been a pleasure being on here, and I'm happy to be welcomed back to your show. Thank you.
Absolutely. Well, thank you so much, and thank you, everybody. I will see you soon in any of the other Hacking HR live chat series that we have planned for you, or the many events. Just continue to be engaged and check out what we're doing. Lots of awesome stuff. So, George, I will see you in part number 2 of our conversation. Thank you so much, and thank you, everybody. I will
Thank
see you
you.
soon.
Bye,
Bye-bye,
everyone.
everyone. Thank you.
Thank you.